What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. I'm Drew Dinkmeyer here with Mike Gallagher to walk you through tonight's 9-game slate in the association. 9 games early in the season, plenty of injuries to talk about. Mike, how are you doing on this Friday?
Doing good. Fun Halloween. We talked about on the DFS show about the candy choice for the kiddos, and I found out, I went heavy Reese's, and apparently, like my whole neighborhood, like wasn't giving out Reese's because they were
Oh,
like, all the kids were like, "Oh my god, you have Reese's!" And like all my Reese's went super quick. I had to like run out to the store really quick to go buy more. So shout out Reese's. Shout out to everyone who had fun on Halloween. But yeah, fun night. A lot of writing. Mid sentences, we're like, yeah, hit up. But yeah. Fun night. Excited for today's slate. A lot of Q tags.
all right. Let's get into some of those Q tags. Let's start with Boston and Charlotte. No Q tags here. On the Boston side, Sam Hauser available. Al Horford listed out due to rest, so the center position gets a little bit thinner. What are your expectations for how Boston handles things tonight?
Yeah, no Horford back to back here. They get the baseball series. They're in Charlotte again tomorrow. So not pretty much should be Cornette. You remember the preseason buzz from a lot of beats saying that Cornette could start over Horford even with healthy. So feel pretty confident Luke Cornette's going to start. It should be a pretty good mix of Xavier Tillman and Nemias Keita knocking down those center minutes. We've got kind of a 3-man split there with a little bit of Tillman at the 4. Sam Hauser, good to go, listed available after probable tag, so he should be good. And other than that, it should be an interesting spot overall here. Tatum, awesome fourth quarter after playing subpar as Boston fell for their first game. But really the big story here, and this was a really big trend in the preseason, was like, man, Peyton Pritchard just keeps on cutting into Drew Holiday's minutes here. And that happened big time on Wednesday with Pritchard playing 39 minutes at the expense of Drew Holiday. So again, this was tipped pretty clear. Not this much though. This wasn't foul trouble, wasn't injury. They just Missoula said he wanted to kind of like try different stuff because things weren't kind of going their way early. But again, Horford's fine. He'll just be resting here. And then again, the other thing too that I've kind of noted: Tatum 43 minutes, Brown 43 minutes. Like the whole gap on Tatum Brown is like gone nowadays. They're playing those two guys a ton.
Do we have to worry about Drew Holiday on a back-to-back?
Yeah, we cut. He's like 4 minutes. We have him like 4 minutes below White when we were running them like even last year. So, what do you mean, like worry about with regards to playing or with regards to
worried about, man? Like I'm wondering. Obviously, they weren't playing well in this game. He was a -19 in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Even all of that said, it was a really long stretch of basketball to just have Pritchard in. So I wonder if they looked at the schedule and it's like, hey, we got 3 and 4 nights. I wonder if it's like, hey, we're going to try to get Drew through all 3 of these games because we don't have a lot of depth here. But the best way to do that is to get Drew to, 25 to 30 minutes a night in these 3 games instead of getting Drew up to 31 to 34 minutes a night. So that's kind of my thought process there. We know he's coming off of a long summer, right? Playing deep into the NBA playoffs run and the NBA finals and then right into Team USA. And this was a concern kind of coming into the season for me. So I'm, eating my own bias here, but do you think there's any risk of Drew Holiday once again being in this like 25 to 30 range, or do you think it's strictly like if he's playing well, we don't have to worry about it?
No, I'm concerned. Again, it was every single preseason game, Pritchard's first half minutes went up every single time. Drew Holiday, it was the one getting cut. It wasn't, oh, let's take Tatum late, let's take Brown. It was every time it was Drew. So, yeah, I think it's legit. We talked about it briefly on the DFS show for Wednesday, and now we're going to talk about it like every slate until it kind of goes away. So, yeah, I'm pretty concerned here. I would not be touching him in DFS for sure. Maybe I wouldn't play the prop game, but, I'm really concerned about the ceiling on Drew.
Yeah. All right. Charlotte side of things. A little bit of good news here. Brandon Miller questionable today with that left glute strain, so not an automatic out for him. Mark Williams still out with the left foot tendon strain. And Daquan Jeffries out with a right hand fracture. What's your read on Brandon Miller's availability tonight?
Yeah, they said it was going to be a week from the opening night injury on Wednesday in Houston. We saw him suffer the injury in the first half, played through it for a bit, and then, as I mentioned, ruled him out. So it's a glute strain, which is, you don't see a lot of glute strains. You see the glute contusion. I don't see a lot of glute strain, so it's tough to kind of parse through how this is going to manage without not that much of a track record. So I think we landed at 29 minutes on him. A little bit of blowout here with a 10.5 point spread. but expecting him to go. Really, the beats are kind of saying he's kind of on track to play, so expecting him to go. And then kick out Seth Curry as Josh Green has been playing pretty well. Him and Cody Martin have provided pretty good on-ball pressure as Cody's kind of built up some, like really, really, 25 points in the last game was quite good overall. So, that's kind of the story. So expecting Miller to start with Josh Green, obviously LaMelo, Nick Richards, who just played freaking great. Nick Richards' minutes may get turned down a little bit here. That they're going to probably play the 1-2-5 switch against the Celtics, which is more of a Grant Williams defensive scheme. So Nick Richards expecting him to cool off as the Raptors just get pounded by centers. That's been a trend for Pirtle. We've talked about that pretty much every time. And then the other story here is like Miles Bridges' minutes got cut down here. I mentioned Martin and Trey Mann. Just my God, the guy just goes off. We can't bet unders on him anymore. He's just apparently that guy right now. Expecting again Miller to start. If he didn't play, probably still Seth Curry again. But because they just like Trey Mann off the bench, and he's just going to play a ton if Miller can't go.
What are your thoughts on how Brandon Miller's return would impact Trey Mann? Do we think we're still getting kind of mid-20s minutes on Trey Mann? Do you think it's impacting the usage? I mean, basically, he's been LaMelo when LaMelo's off the floor for them in terms of role. What are your expectations there?
Yeah, mid-20s seems pretty safe. I mean, they got stuff to trim. You got 16 minutes out of Salon. They could play the Grant straight 5, which is much easier to do in this matchup here. So I think he's still just completely earned a mid-20s. One of the like if he did 6 minutes of the year to this point, like is it him? He's been just really good.
Yep. All right, Knicks and Detroit. On the Knicks side of things, still without Precious Achiuwa and Mitchell Robinson. And then after the game, Cat has a great game in Miami. Takes a fall on the floor that doesn't seem like it's a big deal. After the game, he's doing interviews. Everything seems fine. And then later that night pops up questionable left wrist sprain. The Knicks don't have much depth to be able to handle one of their main guys going out. So what are your expectations and the read on the Karl-Anthony Towns availability tonight?
Yeah, I don't have a read, but this is not good. 2022 when he was going really hot 2022 and like lost his shooting and he kept like blaming his left wrist. He didn't have surgery that year and then he had it again the next summer and then he did have a procedure. It may have just been like a PRP, but the point here is we've had 2 years where this left wrist has affected him and his play. So that's alarming. It's something he's probably playing through, but it's something about like how is his effect, because again this is like clearly affected him two previous instances here. So not red alert and maybe minor and just being careful with the listing, but definitely something to monitor here on how Cat can kind of play through this thing that is bothering him. So yeah, I think he's going to go. As you mentioned, it didn't look terrible. It obviously wasn't really downplayed or anything. So expecting him to go. If he didn't, like Jericho Sims, Keith Bogan's kind of spot start, and then we'll see some OG at the 5. I think OG at the 5 is something that Thibodeau said he was more open to playing there, and then more usage of Brunson, more usage all around Bridges, all that yada yada yada. But that mostly covers the Cat thing. One other note here was Jalen Brunson. I want to hit him really quick. Roles really shrunk. Like the drives are down, the touches are like noticeably down, even per minute with the minute stuff, especially compared to last year post break. Sure, that's because Cat and no Randall. But still a substantial dip. And there was a comment from Tibbs saying they were like trying to preserve him a little bit and play him a little bit off the ball, which has cut down, just all that driving stuff that's yielded so many fantasy points. So obviously if Cat is out, then I think that kind of goes out the window. It's like, okay, we can't preserve you. We need you to run this offense. So I think in a matchup we love, right? He's going to get Jaden Ivey on him. So maybe this is like, okay, get going Brunson kind of a game. But I did want to note that role has changed a little bit for Action Brunson.
Yep. All right, Detroit side of things, injury report pretty much the same here. Still no Oscar Thompson, still no Bobby Klintman, and then the G Leaguers. What are your notes on the Pistons?
Not much. The only note I have here is Isaiah Stewart played pretty well in the last game, partly because of Jalen Duren foul trouble, and there was a comment from GB Bickerstaff saying that Stewart maybe has earned a bigger role. Now, that could mean one of two things. Obviously, the most easiest one would be to cut into Jalen Duren a little bit, who's been fine playing that drop-heavy coverage. One other random matchup note, these teams are giving up a lot of threes early, even if you take out the Boston game against the Knicks as a random aside. And then, the other way this could happen would be to, trim down Ron Holland, play Fontecchio as more of a 3, and then run what we saw a lot of last year, Isaiah Stewart next to Duren. We saw that so much last year. So, just want to note that. But yeah, K's been great. Jaden Ivey's defense has been really good, shooting 40% from 3. That little tighter shooting stroke he's had has carried over in this early part of the year. He's going to be busy going to guard Brunson. So, we said this last time, and I'm ashamed I didn't take the bet that the Pistons were going to beat the Sixers. And, check out our podcast. You and I talked about the Sixers and how poorly they're playing. But, yeah, Pistons are playing, they're 1-4, but they're playing competitive basketball in a pretty tough schedule.
Yeah, they've played fine. I take offense to Jaden Ivey's defense has been good, but
it's been better.
Yeah, he was like he was a 1 out of 10. Now he's a 3 out of 10. It's better. It's not good.
He's still not good. I mean, last year, like every single time the Pistons were on the slate, I was like, oh, great matchup, play the guard against them. And now it's like, okay, maybe it's not like it's still good.
We'll see how Brunson does tonight. I'm optimistic. All right, let's go to Orlando and Cleveland. On the Orlando side, Paolo Banchero out with the right oblique tear. It's going to be 4 to 6 weeks at least on Paolo Banchero. Mm-hmm. Franz Wagner is listed available with that illness that cost him half a game 2 games ago, and he's looked lackluster since. It's been a good bit with this illness. So listing available, I'm optimistic. I know you got coach quotes that say it's game time decision. Mm-hmm. This has been a while since the original illness issue. It's been like 5 days. Wow. Goga Bitadze is questionable with a left foot tendon strain. What are your notes here on the Magic?
Yeah, so a couple things here. Yeah, as you noted, he is listed available, Franz. I'll get to Paolo in a second. But Mosley said that he's feeling, quote, better, and he's going to be a game-time decision. I don't know, obviously the quote was, I don't know what the timing was, whether he said that before he was available, whatever. But he's not 100% yet. And this is a trend, man. A lot of these players who are sick, it's been carrying over. I'll talk about LeBron a little bit. Is it affecting Zion? I don't know, and that's been something to watch, especially I don't know. That's something I've got concerns about Franz being 100%. We took a half minute off him just because we got to be a little bit careful. And I mean, the guy just sat at a half basically, and he's just missed a lot of time. Hasn't looked right for a couple games. So that's that. But he'll play. Just a little bit concerned about the ceiling there. But as you mentioned, the bigger news: Paolo Banchero out 4 to 6 weeks. Tough loss. Obviously had the 50 ball here. So that brings up the huge question of who's going to start for this team. And, we got to break it out here. We've got some starters jerseys watch, which I don't know if it makes sense, but we always got to be on jersey watch, especially for a big injury like that. And where are you here? We've got a possible Anthony Black starters jersey. Now, should note Tristan da Silva had a black jersey, which could mean third unit. This makes no sense to me. I don't think they would do that. You're really going to start Anthony Black, Suggs, KCP, Franz, and Wendell? I don't know. So I don't know. Take that with a big grain of salt there. I think Jonathan Isaac starts. I think you would agree. Didn't have a minutes limit formally on his return from hip injury last game. It was a quote unquote conditioning thing. So I think that it should be him, and should also note that Goga Bitadze is potentially something that could swing the rotation. If Goga plays, he could A, start, or B, they could start Mo Wagner. We saw 48 minutes last year. They ran Wendell Carter Jr. with Mo Wagner. We've seen 8 minutes of Goga with Mo Wagner. Mo Wagner's played some 4. Matchup, we saw them play pretty big against the Cavs last year in the playoffs. So maybe they mix it up here. Just not the spot to go that small, in my opinion. You're asking for trouble, and they did play that way last year. So I'm still leaning Jonathan Isaac starting, but not confident here. And we hate to dismiss starters jerseys on this show. You love to do it, but I've got my doubts about Anthony Black starting.
I just disagree with the starters jerseys undefeated bit. That's the only part of the starters jerseys that I disagree with. It's a good hit rate. It's a good hit rate for sure. It's not undefeated.
All right, 80%. All right, 80% Steph.
Yeah, that's exactly 80% hit rate. So the matchup is key here. I think Anthony Black deserves to play the most minutes in terms of filling in for Paolo, because I think he's been their best player off the bench so far. but the matchup is difficult to do that against with the size of the Cavaliers. And so, yeah, I would think that Isaac would start, but if not, he's clearly under some semblance of a minutes restriction that even though they're saying he's not, like he clearly is if he's not starting. Even so, this is going to be really hard to parse through because this is a deep team. They've got a lot of fours that they could play. They've got a lot of 4-5s that they could play. Like Tristan da Silva is a 3-4, Mo Wagner a 4-5, Goga Batadze a 5. Like they've got a lot of ways that they can play. I think for this matchup specifically, the way that I would be leaning towards projecting this, you can't project this full, but I would be leaning towards Wendell Carter Jr. and Goga Batadze for almost all the center minutes. I would be leaning towards almost all of Mo Wagner and Jonathan Isaac's minutes at the 4. And I would be expecting them to shift the rest of the minutes, try to get stuff down. Like I don't think, I know Jett Howard had a good preseason. I don't think this spot is the one to get a lot of extra Jett Howard minutes in this spot. So we'll see. The matchup is really the thing that's kind of driving that idea here. Jett Howard could take Cole Anthony's minutes as he did last game. Like that's totally fine. That's totally possible. But there's going to be a lot of hedged minutes here because this is a deep team that's not clear how they're going to replace things. But I think that's the most likely way that they end up replacing things tonight.
So we have 5.5 minutes of overlap of like double big. Sounds like you want more. I'm the matchup bro here, so I wanted to go more, but I don't know if that was a take. But if you want to go more, let's do it.
I think we should have more Goga, and I think Mo's a straight 4. I think Mo's ceiling is very high in this game.
Do you think you're thinking like 12, 13, 14 overlap? That's a lot.
Who are you saying?
I think
between.
So like Mo Wagner 4 minutes.
I'm thinking Mo Wagner is a pure 4. I don't think he's a 5.
So you're thinking like 17, 18 then.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I don't think we can project that, but I think that's what we're going to get.
I kind of agree. So projection, you're thinking like what, 9.5?
Well, actually, I should say with Cleveland's second unit rotation, you don't have to do that. So I'm overstating that. I think it'll probably
if the case.
I think it'll probably be something like Wendell up around 30. He's had as high as a ceiling of like 34 with the way that he's been trending with House, but probably up around 30. Goga probably around 10 to 12, and then Mo Wagner for the rest is probably what I would think at center. But I think Mo Wagner's ceiling in this game is high.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely.
Because they need two things. They need size and they need offensive creation. Like he's the guy that does those things. So I think it's a good Mo Wagner spot tonight, even though it's a terrible matchup.
Yeah, you get the Wagner boys. Put the brothers out there together for sure. Yeah, that was when I did matchups, I put Mo in there first. Like I was like, all right, start him.
Yeah,
for all the reasons you said.
I don't.
Man, that's hot. That's hot.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll go that route. I think it makes sense for Isaac for the defensive stuff, but in the second unit, they need Mo to really carry a lot of offensive stuff because it's gonna be messy with that Paolo. All right, Cleveland.
Just one more point too. Just the Goga thing could swing this too. If Goga can't play, they're way less likely.
Correct. Yeah, Goga's questionable. Exactly. So that would definitely swing things in a big way. Okay, Cleveland side of things. Craig Porter Jr. is doubtful here. They're still without Max Strus and then the G Leaguers. So no real injury notes from Cleveland's perspective. Great start to the season for them. We covered that in the most recent episode of the Established Run NBA podcast, which you can see the video version of that on this YouTube channel after this show, if you want to check that out. But what are your notes on the Cavs tonight?
Nothing really. Isaac Okoro and Jerome mostly came back to life, a little bit aided by a blowout here, but better play from those guys. And then, everything's kind of going to according to plan. Mobley, man, just the stats are crazy. So he has two games where he's led the team in scoring. I think last year it was 5 times over the course of the entire season. So it's Evan Mobley's season, just absolutely killing it. And talked a little bit about it, but just put some numbers behind the pod. That we talked about. Pick and roll handler possessions, 14% up from 2.9. And then transition scoring up, it's 22.4 this year, up from 12.4. So handling and running just like made Mobley this absolute monster to start the year. Those levels are not sustainable, but Mobley's here to stay. And then Garland's been great. Just shout him out. So hashtag our Cavs. We'll see. And versus hashtag our Magic. It's the battle of the hours.
With both those guys, Garland and Mobley, they both get into foul trouble in this game. And if you're a season-long fantasy owner, a best ball owner, or whatever, you get 25 and 5 out of Mobley when he plays 19 minutes, and you get 12 and 10 and 2 steals out of Garland when he plays 22 minutes. And you're like, oh, okay, I can survive these situations. Like it's really encouraging right now. Okay. Chicago and Brooklyn. On the Chicago side of things, a heavy injury report here. Lonzo Ball is out with this right wrist sprain. Jalen Smith is questionable with the left knee effusion. Shout out to you for noting that no matter what team Jalen Smith goes to, when he's questionable, he can get ruled out after the game starts. I don't understand how this is happening across two different teams now, but it happened in Indiana repeatedly that Jalen Smith would be questionable, and we wouldn't find out anything until midway through the first quarter when someone's like, oh yeah, Jalen Smith's out tonight. And it happened again the first time he's questionable on the injury report for the Bulls last game. So we did see Adama Sanogo last game. Also, Patrick Williams listed questionable with a right shoulder strain here. And then Zach LaVine listed questionable with a left AC joint sprain. That to me, I'm surprised he's even listed questionable.
Yeah.
I thought this was like for sure he's going to miss a few games. What's your read on the Bulls tonight?
Yeah, shout out to me, man. You make a Jalen Smith joke that he doesn't play through available tags, and he does it again. So, we're back, baby. So yeah, like you can't. We said this, like you can't play him, and like we should have got the social clipping. But anyways, yeah. So don't play Sticks. He might play, I might not. But don't hitch your horse to that wagon, or other way around. Anyways, yeah. So LaVine played through it, played not great, but played a lot. Partial dislocation according to Casey Johnson. That's not good, man. So. I kind of think he misses, and then Patrick Williams, caught the shoulder bug. I'm not kidding, obviously. He's a late add, so you could potentially have two shoulder injuries, really cutting down this rotation in like a big way in really, really important spots. Obviously, LaVine's played really well to start the year prior to this game where he got injured. So, that would mean mega usage coming to Kobe White. Josh Giddey's minutes would be extremely safe coming off a really strong game in the last one. That would be, Ayo Dosunmu would probably start and play a ton. We know he's played. We were projecting for like 37.5s last year down the stretch, so he could play a lot. Julian Phillips more safe. We'd get Dalen Terry in the mix. It should keep Matas Buzelis in the mix. Billy Donovan said after the game that, quote, he has to earn his minutes. So not great. And then just a macro note, shout out to Billy Donovan. I love the tagline quotes. He had the exact quote was, I think he said, if we don't run, we're done. So they are first in pace. Yep. They are first in offensive pace. They are a major rim funnel. This is just heaven for fantasy. So, and then, as we said last time, if Sticks doesn't play, you're getting more ceiling out of Vooch in a matchup that's pretty good.
Yeah. And I would note, if you don't see Patrick Williams tonight, you know who the starting power forward on this team is, Mike Gallagher? It's Josh Giddey. That's the starting power forward on this team. And you know what Josh Giddey is great at from a fantasy perspective? Rebounding and going, right? Mm-hmm. And so, like, you get him at the 4 spot, and when he can sag off Dorian Finney-Smith out there on the corner and just come in and grab defensive rebounds and go, would be a really good spot for Giddey. You mentioned the minute security, but I think also the positional change is he would essentially be a 4 because they're not. I don't think they're elevating like Torrey Craig or Julian Phillips to that spot if just Patrick Williams is out. I think if Patrick Williams or LaVine are out, I think it's Ayo that gets elevated into the starting lineup. And then if they're both out, then I think we're seeing one of these other guys. But I still think Giddey is essentially going to play the 4 because they're going to hide him on Dorian Finney-Smith, and he's essentially the tallest guy out there to go and rebound. So I think it's a good spot for Giddey tonight.
Yeah, he was basically doing that anyways. And if they're both out, are we going Julian Phillips? I
think so. I think that's the most likely scenario here. And then I think both Torrey Craig and Matas Buzelis play in that scenario, just because the bench starts to get really, really thin. But yeah, it's messy here. I mean, there's a chance that they end up like going to Taylor Horn-Tucker if both are out. But I think Torrey Craig and Buzelis would play in that scenario. Okay, Brooklyn, no Bojan Bogdanovic, no Jalen Martin, no Daron Sharp, no Dariq Whitehead. Available tags for Trendon Watford, who we haven't seen yet this season, and Tyrese Martin, a G Leaguer. Watford, the interesting note here, just because we saw last game, we kind of made a note about this when they were without Nick Claxton, who's back tonight on that back-to-back. They sat Claxton one game, sat Simmons the other game. We made the note that, hey, there's enough room in this bench rotation to find some upside from some guys. And certainly Jalen Wilson and Zaire Williams kind of filled that role. You add in another body into the mix, and another body with Claxton back as well, and it's like, oh, okay, now we're getting a little bit crowded. So I don't know what Watford's role will be immediately, but he is competition for Jalen Wilson, Zaire Williams, Noah Clowney for sure. Yep. What are your expectations for the Nets tonight?
Yeah, let's talk Watford first. So last year, I mean, both coaching staffs, Jacques Vaughn and Kevin Ali, they love this dude. I mean, how many minutes did we see Trendon Watford play point guard, like bringing the ball up after makes and setting the tempo for the offense, setting the table? Was that a coaching thing? You would think so. Like, he did not do that with Portland. So I don't know. It's tough. I think we landed at 10.5 minutes for Watford, returning from a hamstring strain suffered, I think it was about 3 weeks ago. So he might barely play, expecting him not to play a lot. But as you mentioned, that takes away a lot of ceiling out of Zaire Williams. Great game, revenge game, shout out to him. Jalen Wilson, minutes are really all over the place. Noah Clowney, been mostly bad, honestly.
Mostly bad,
yeah, unfortunately. I've got a lot of Clowney. And then how many minutes can Dorian Finney-Smith play? Maybe we don't see 35s out of Dennis Schroeder and Cam Thomas and Cam Johnson and all that. Maybe it just gets trended down a little bit just because you're adding another piece into the rotation there. So it's a mess. So you've got that. So yeah, a little bit. Again, I would pretty much be a stay away on your Jalen Wilsons, your Zaires, your Clowneys, just because I think Watford could impact them. And it's not like the ceiling's that high anyways, especially with Claxton and Ben playing, which brings us to the next point. Who starts? I don't know. Jordi Fernandez.
I tell you one thing. Dennis Schroeder's starting. They ain't taking Dennis Schroeder off the floor with the way he's playing.
Yeah, Dennis Schroeder's for sure starting. It is 100% going to be Nick Claxton or Ben Simmons. I'm like, I think once Claxton's good to go and they feel good about it, he's starting. Is that today? I don't know. But like he started behind Noah Clowney the other day. So I'm still leaning it's going to be this starting lineup with Ben, the Cams, Dennis, and Dorian Finney-Smith, but maybe not. Jordi Fernandez calls them their 2-point guards, so kind of unclear. But they keep kicking this can down the road here. It's got to come to a head here eventually. Like $100 million man, like you're bringing him off the bench. What are we doing here?
Yeah, the head is they need to trade Dorian Finney-Smith or Ben gets hurt. Like that's one of the two outs there. But I think this matchup might make it so we see Claxton. I'm torn on this because like Vooch is just giant, and so it's like a little bit tough to ask Ben to go deal with Vooch. But the pace is very you could ask Dorian to do. The pace is very good for Ben, right? You want kind of a flowy game. And then the other thing is Jordi Fernandez has had all these quotes about wanting Ben to be more aggressive. I think for that reason, I think you're going to see him continue to start until he has a game that he's like not aggressive. And that's going to be the hey, I said, I need this out of you. You're not doing it. We're making the change. Like, I think that's going to be the communication. Okay.
One Lakers other note, if I can, Bulls Nets first and second in catch and shoot possessions in the NBA. You would have never thought that, but here we are.
Yeah. All right, Lakers and Toronto. On the Lakers side of things, a full injury report here, mostly because they've just listed a bunch of G Leaguers out. They've also listed Jared Vanderbilt, Christian Wood out. And then we've got probable tags on Anthony Davis with a right hip soreness, injured that hip in the game against Cleveland, was kind of grabbing at it throughout the game. The game got out of hand, so the minutes got limited slightly because of that. He still played 31. LeBron James, not listed on the injury report, was dealing with illness about a week ago. Seems to be fine now. We know that you don't think so? The Lakers listed LeBron questionable.
I mean, he sounded sick after the game, man. He didn't sound 100% yet. Like he still was like and like coughing, like his voice wasn't good. So that's what I was saying about LeBron.
He had 26, 6, and 3 in 29 minutes. I think he's okay. And he's not listed on the injury report when he was listed 75% of games last year for nothing, like just listed with nothing all the time. So I think it's safe to say LeBron is fine. D'Angelo Russell, probable with low back soreness. So him and AD both have the probable tags. What are your expectations for the Lakers tonight?
Yeah, AD was a late addition. They had the first injury report, and I was like, whoa, AD didn't get listed. What the hell? Because he had ice on his hip. He said it was bothering him. You mentioned he was grabbing at it. Also got hit in the nose that game. But yeah, that's fine. He's okay there. So yeah, this is not red alert like AD, and I think we're gonna get. I talked about this in our Slack. I think we're gonna get that AD probable tag for who knows. We saw last year they would just always list them probable, whatever. So no concerns. It was just a contact thing. It wasn't like a strain, so he should be good. They do not play tomorrow. They do play tomorrow. They do not play tomorrow. Sorry, they do not play tomorrow. So it should be good.
They have 2 days.
And then the other note is. There was I know Underdog picked it up, like the JJ Redick might change his rotation. Looking into it, like the only little tweak, very little, was Dalton Connect came in like 3 minutes earlier. Like he usually comes in to start the second, but he came in like little. That was it. So this is like not a big thing. We were all like freaking out, like, oh my God, they're going to pull D'Lo because D'Lo's been really bad to start the season. So yeah, but expecting no drastic changes. They are in a 2-game losing streak. Kind of rough ones. Blowing a 20-point lead to the Suns, and then just got absolutely housed in the first quarter here and never got out of it. So, and one other note too, JJ Redick talked a lot about limbo rate. Basically, it means like what the rate at which you crash or get back, and they're really charting that. And he cited Max Christie as someone who's kind of really thrived in limbo rate. This is a stat that actually came from Darvin Ham. For those who don't know, Google the rest if you want. So yeah, we'll see if Max Christie can get up there. I was really optimistic about Christie from a minutes perspective, and just hasn't panned out, but he's ticking up a little bit. So just something that could potentially hurt D'Angelo Russell's ceiling.
All right. Toronto side, no Scotty Barnes, no Bruce Brown, no Kelly Olynyk. Emmanuel Quickly is doubtful. And then Jacoby Walter got upgraded to questionable with that right shoulder AC joint sprain. We haven't seen him yet this season. Last game out, in the absence of all these guys, it was the RJ Barrett show. 10 of 18 from the field, gets to the line 12 times as well, dishes out 8 assists. Big game from RJ Barrett, looking like the player that we saw in the Olympics as well. What are your expectations for the Raptors tonight?
Yeah, let's talk Barrett real quick. Last game, 30 potential assists, 15 drives, 4.6 minutes touchdown. That's as good as it gets from a role in the wing. So really strong minutes. Again, talked about this a lot. The shoulder injury not affecting guys because they can condition a little bit, where the hamstrings are take a little bit to kind of get you back to normal minutes. So yeah, should be full. Should be getting a huge role overall. So one of the big surprises of the day on Wednesday was Jonathan Mobo starting and playing a lot of center minutes in the second quarter, playing really well. Like one of the best out of nowhere stories, a guy like who could be 10-team relevant soon in season-long leagues. So keep him on your watch list in the shallow stuff. But Pirtle's playing a ton. Davion will be out there, so it'll be the same starting lineup. They are going to bring Jacoby Walter potentially back, questionable for this one. Don't have a great read. If he did play, that would probably affect Jamison Battle more than anyone else. I would take a little bit of ceiling off of Ochai Agbaji. You probably wouldn't get the shed overlap anymore. Then we saw, as I mentioned, they probably just play Mobo more as a 5 just to squeeze it out and play a little bit smaller here. Now, I don't know if you want to do that in this matchup with the way the Lakers can attack the rim, but just to kind of sum up the whole picture here. But Walter was good. I don't think he's fantasy relevant yet, but a player that really impressed me in Summer League.
Yeah. Good luck, Mobo. Here's LeBron James in your likely second career start. All right, let's go to Sacramento and Atlanta. On the Sacramento side of things, injury report's pretty clean here. No G Leaguers, no Orlando Robinson, no Devin Carter. What are your expectations on the Kings?
Yeah, it should be good to go. You get the Red Velvet revenge game. I mean, it's been really strong. He's I think 26 and 33 in his last 2 games. Even one of them was a back-to-back. He's been playing pretty well here. Looks to be pretty secure. We did get Keon Ellis kind of somewhat back in the mix for 17 minutes after the game. Mike Brown said he's one of the best young defenders he's ever seen. So yeah, why not DMP-CDM for a game? Kidding aside, good to go here. We talked a lot about Sabonis. We took it over on him. He's run like incredibly bad. His rebounding chances per minute are like way down. His contested rebound percentage rate is up. His conversion rate on assists has run horribly bad. Their DHO efficiency has been like way down compared to last year, for what it's worth. So looking at some of like the DeMar handoff plays are like really bad on the synergy stuff. So yeah, they're good to go. Obviously, Atlanta is a dumpster fire defensively, expecting the Kings to score a ton. I covered boy De'Aaron Fox for my matchups column. This should be 120 or more from the Kings today.
Yeah, the only small concern on the Kings side, right, is that they're on the front end of a back-to-back. That's really like the only thing you can poke any holes at, because we've gotten the combination of like great minutes from these guys, now the great matchup. This should be fantasy fun for Sacramento. All right, Atlanta side of things, injury report pretty full here. No Dominic Barlow, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Kobe Buffkin, Dyson Daniels, DeAndre Hunter, Vit Krejci, Seth Lundy, Cody Zeller, and a questionable tag on Muhammad Gee. So pretty thinned out Atlanta Hawks team that is losing games to Washington back-to-back. Not ideal. What are your expectations for what we see for the Hawks tonight?
Yeah, shout out to you. They started Ricochet. I thought they'd be a little bit nervous about starting him and putting him on Jordan Poole. That's exactly what they did. So, hey, good job. You kept Jordan Poole to 24. Now you get to go guard De'Aaron Fox. God bless you, sir. So, expecting the same starting lineup here. I joked that Jalen Johnson was going to double the 34.5 PRA. It took me like mid-fourth to get that over. But yeah, same lineup. Jalen Johnson's role is so good. Third in touches in the NBA behind only Jokic and Trae Young, Trae Young just has the best guard role in the NBA. 24 potential assists or 26 potential assists was last game, leading NBA. I think 19.5 potentials. Not driving a touch. He's kind of taking more perimeter stuff, as you see by the 13 3-pointers there. But yeah, it's the two-headed monster offensively. Ricochet could play a ton. And then we did see Capella pull even within Kongwu, and that was noted after the game by Quinn Snyder, who said that they were trying to, even though Jovel wasn't starting, they were trying to tether Capella to Jovel there. So something to note. Could that push him up against the bonus? I don't know. A little bit of a different cover.
Yeah.
But, so something to watch. Keen Wallace. I keep, I've got a football in my brain here. Okay. Anyways, so still overlapped a little bit, cutting a Garris matches more than we thought, but and also Mo Gay was sent to the Skyhawks today. Questionable, might come back up, but just noting for like the true sickos who are like us monitoring minutes.
Yeah, Matthews was like an enforcer in this game. Came in and was just throwing elbows around, and like I thought he was going to get ejected. But it was a surprise to me that Roddy started over him. I thought they needed some shooting in the first unit. Maybe they did because they didn't shoot the ball very well on the slate. But yeah, it's a mess for the Hawks just generally. And I would say that a Congo quote is pretty concerning, honestly. Like for long-term upside, is if they're concerned about Jonas Valanciunas size-wise. There's a number of guys in the league that they're going to be concerned about for Okongwu, right? We're going to talk about Vucevic. We're going to talk about Sabonis. We're going to talk about Jokic. If Embiid ever gets back on the floor, so there's going to be a bunch of guys that we got to be concerned about how they view Okongwu from a size perspective, which as long as they have Capella is going to be an issue. It's interesting because I don't view Okongwu as like significantly smaller than Capella. Yeah. So like it's a weird quote, but it's something to definitely file away. Okay. Indiana and the Pelicans, another full injury report game here. I'd like to congratulate the Pacers on listing Andrew Nembhard with left knee soreness and a questionable tag today, because he was notably absent from the last injury report when he played 5 minutes, and the quotes after the game were that he's been dealing with knee soreness. Very frustrating from the Pacers.
Tendinitis.
Yeah, very frustrating. And tendinitis is like a long-term recovery injury. It's not something that pops out of nowhere. It's not something that happens pre-game. I know they said it happened pre-game. Tendinitis doesn't happen pre-game.
No, it
didn't. Frustrating, but he's listed questionable today. Miles Turner also questionable here with the left ankle sprain. He missed last game. Isaiah Jackson held his own in a very, very tough matchup for him. Much, much more comfortable matchup out there tonight with New Orleans. What are your expectations for what we see from Indiana tonight after the Benedict Mathurin breakout game against the Celtics?
Yeah, I mean, the Pacers like Jalen Smith does here. Not listing guys. Rick Carlisle said after the game that like he found out, during the national anthem, respect the flag, buddy. That Andrew Nembhard had tendinitis and it could affect him in the game. And he saw him for 5 minutes. He's like, oh, no, get out of there, buddy. You're good. So I don't know. Like that tendinitis don't heal in 2 days. So I kind of think he sits, which, as we know, Ben Mathurin, awesome game, good defense. He talked about that post game that after the 2 games ago. He was like, "Oh yeah, my defense has been bad." Played pretty well. Guarded Jaylen Brown a little bit. Guarded on ball a little bit, but 30 ball, 11 boards, active as hell. Mentioned the free throws. He would start for sure and have pretty big minutes. I always thought they were like kind of managing him. Like there was a couple games early in the year they would like pull him out when he was like kind of going. But he'd be in a pretty good spot. Do you have some? Go ahead. If you want to hop in.
I just think he's the type of player that, he mentioned that his defense wasn't good. He's the type of player that I think coaches can get hard on at times. And so I think it's more that than like managing him. I think it's just like Carlisle does get annoyed with Mathurin sometimes because like you hold these guys with a higher level of talent to like a higher standard, and you get frustrated when they don't play up to their level of play, even though there might be your better option. It's like weird psychologically, but when you watch Mathurin go out there and just like take long contested twos and like not really defend, you're like, get out of here, man. I'm tired. Like get to the rim and like use your length and athleticism to actually like stay in front of somebody. So I think that's what it was more than like managing.
Yeah, for sure. And then one other note, Halliburton tracking stuff went up, but was it because no Nembhard, 22 potential assists, 7.5 touch time? This is like Halliburton. This is what we wanted, but like, I think it's because Nembhard didn't play. So we'll see if that's sticky or not. Siakam, really good game from Siakam. Defense, scoring, rebounding, all that good stuff. And we'll see how much more Isaiah Jackson plays, who I thought played pretty well in this game. But and now we talked about the bad matchup a lot, but now they may need to play a little bit bigger here. So assuming Miles Turner playing would make this all moot.
Would also note we got bamboozled, hoodwinked, and bamboozled by Jarris Walker in the preseason, because if there was any matchup, no Miles Turner against the Celtics wing depth, you would think this would be the spot for Jarris Walker to see his minutes increase, and nope. He was still stuck behind Ben Shepherd. So
he subbed in early. We're like, oh, here we go, and then nope. Can't quit Ben Shepherd. After the game, Rick Carlisle said he is, quote, pound for pound their best rebounder, has a, quote, nose for the ball. A lot of quote bros from Carlisle is perhaps king quote bro. He's got the goods. Whether they're true or not, we don't know. But
they're often not. Pelicans side of things, they are listing CJ McCollum out, right abductor soreness, Herb Jones out, right shoulder strain, Trey Murphy out, right hamstring strain, DeJounte Murray out, left hand fracture. I mean, that's 4 starters or 4 of your top 6 players. Ives Misi questionable. They're like most intriguing young backup center. Jordan Hawkins questionable, lower back spasms. Daniel Tice questionable, left ankle soreness. Who is left, Mike Gallagher? What are we going to see in the shell of the Pelicans tonight?
Yeah, and we got the update from the Pelicans today that it's bad. Like Herb Jones' shoulder looked terrible, and now he's out at least 2 to 4 weeks. CJ McCollum gets listed with an adductor out of nowhere, called out. I didn't even see that injury, and he's out 2 to 3. So they are getting absolutely killed in 2 areas. Their ball handling, losing DeJounte, losing CJ, and then their on-ball defense, losing their 2 best on-ball defenders in Herb and DeJounte. Like those 3 guys are so valuable to them. And now you got Jordan Hawkins, should be good. We saw that last time he was game time decision, went out there, freaking plays 39 minutes, and didn't score 25 for you at the end. That was a nice plus 675 that almost hit. But yeah, I mean, if they don't have Yves Misi, and Daniel Tice legit rolled his ankle, oh my God, this is bad. After the game, Willie Green said that, Misi was dealing with it and he was legit injured. So, I mean, it would be Jeremiah Robinson Earl season. He would probably start. I think he would have to start here. I don't think you could play that small early, especially against the Pacers with the way they put pressure on the rim. I think they were first in rim points last year. So it would have to be him. Obviously, Jose Alvarado will be playing a ton. I was surprised he played 35 minutes, but he has to. Again, he covers both those bases. He is an on-ball defender. He can handle. So he could play mid-30s again. Brandon Ingram, fine. And then we got to talk about Zion. Again, another bad game. Misses the first game, and they look great. DeJounte has a good game, and then DeJounte goes down, and then they can't win a game. They won 1 game against the Blazers. They got blown out twice. He's shooting 27% on drives. Zion Williamson, 27% on drives. That's worse than the NBA by 7 percentage points among the 40-ish guys that have 20 plus attempts on drives. He's been terrible. Yes, Draymond. Shout out to Monty Kamara for those 2 games against the Blazers. I don't know. He don't look right to me, man. Whether it's adapting to the lost weight, whether it's the illness thing I mentioned, I don't know what's going on here. But Zion looks terrible. Brandon Ingram had an iffy game. It's just like Jordan Hawkins just has to produce at this point. They want to get more threes up, and they have like one guy who could do it with volume now.
Yep. Yeah, and I think it's mostly just matchups, early season fluky stuff with Zion, but we'll see. Tonight would be the night to get right. This Indiana rim defense has had its challenges, and they have generally been a team that has allowed a lot of drives. So this would be the night to get right for Zion. All right, Denver and Minnesota. On the Denver side of things, Vlatko Konchar probable here with a right ankle sprain. Aaron Gordon on the injury report probable with a right knee contusion. Otherwise, it's just G Leaguers listed out here. What are your notes on the Nuggets?
Don't have too much to say, although the guy who's just behind Zion in drive efficiency is Jamal Murray at like 34%, just as a random note. But yeah, it should be good. Christian Brown's played pretty well. He's really, really put some distance. You know, I joked that it was like a 80% chance that he could lose his job by Thanksgiving. It's probably like, I'm sorry, other way, like that he would still have his job. So like it's probably like 95. Brown's been pretty good. Big game from Russell Westbrook. Shout out to us for over. And then Jamal Murray coming off the ankle tweak looked totally fine. So he's good there. Yeah, pretty stable situation here. MPJ got kind of back in the good graces after he got shortened a little bit a couple games ago. So yeah, feel pretty good about the spot. Overall, don't have too much to say.
They had 2 days off to recover from a back-to-back set that was 2 overtime games in the back-to-back set, and now they get Minnesota, and it's a back-to-back tomorrow back at home in altitude. This is a tough part of the schedule. This is a primetime game tonight, so a little bit longer TV timeouts will potentially help. But like Michael Malone's been talking about how they need to rely on the younger guys in the bench a little bit more. Ramona Shelbourne had a piece that's out on ESPN today. It's interviewing Calvin Booth talking, I believe it was on ESPN, talking about how, they've bet on, like, are they wasting Jokic's prime, essentially? And there's been tension between Booth and Malone in terms of the playing of the younger guys. I'm a little nervous on the high end of minutes side of things on the front end of a back-to-back tonight, in part because if you're – and I know this is going to sound strange for a team that was the champions 2 years ago, but that team has changed a lot without Bruce Brown, without Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and not filling those spots. But you look at these 2 games and you're like, we got to make sure we get the Utah game at least. Like you can't say like we need to go all out for the Minnesota game and we'll take care of Utah if like. So I'm mildly concerned for the very high end, which we've seen is like 36-40 for these guys. Any thoughts there?
I mean, I don't know. Malone said that their last game was their best bench game, and obviously, like Russell Westbrook scored 22 points. That explains the whole thing. But I kind of disagree a little bit. Minnesota's second unit's really good. I think it's going to be like, oh crap, we can't hang with this Minnesota's second unit. Like, go out there and play 35.
Yeah, I mean that's probably going to be the reaction. That's probably going to be the reaction. I sitting here looking at Denver's schedule. I'm like, you got to get that Utah game at home. Hopefully they can, regardless of what they do tonight. Minnesota side of things, their injury report very clean. Just G League guys listed out. Any notes for the Timberwolves?
Nope. The only one would be Mike Conley. Had a wrist injury in the offseason. It's still bothering him. He said he'll have to get a procedure on this when he's like done playing. So yeah, this is part of the reason why I think we've seen Conley's minutes really get cut down. But besides that, don't have too much to say. Yeah, they're good to go. Shout out to Nikhil Alexander-Walker. You know, you always roast me for being too high on Nikhil's minutes, but he's been great, man. I always joked he was their best bench player, and he's playing like it so far. He's been awesome. Nasri's been good, but I think Nikhil's defense has really helped them, and he's continuing to close, cutting into Conley, cutting into Dante a little bit. That's why I have like no Dante. This is I think Nikhil's just not going to go away. He's really valuable. Should shout out Julius Randle. Julius Randle's been pretty good offensively. Good.
Yeah, the big thing with Dante from a value perspective, season long, best ball, whatever. Obviously, like the minutes upside hasn't been there for what people hoped post trade, but the 3-point shooting, he's gone back to like he's been a weird 3-point shooter for his career. Last year he shot almost 40%, I think, and then he had a couple of years where he shot like 31, 32, where he's like terrible. And so like it's been very hit or miss with Dante, and early in the season it's been very miss for Dante DiVincenzo. Okay, Oklahoma City and Portland, last game on the slate to close it out. Oklahoma City's injury report Same guys that have been out. No Kenrich Williams, no Jalen Williams, the big, no Isaiah Hartenstein, and then no G Leaguers, Adam Flagler, Alex Dukas, and Nikola Topic. So pretty healthy OKC team here. Front end of a back-to-back for them as well. There's a lot of teams on the front end of back-to-back tonight. I think it's like 9 of the teams on front ends of back-to-backs. What are your expectations for Oklahoma City as they just keep rolling through opponents?
Yeah, who starts is the question. We've seen a mixed bag here. I'm leaning Casey Wallace. I think he's just been so good. My favorite thing I do when I wake up in the morning is to see how many pick and roll handler points the Thunder gave up. They're down. It went up. They're only giving up 5. They're giving up a whopping 5.3 points. They're like 10 points better than like anyone in the whole league. It's insane how good. Like good luck dribbling against these guys. So yeah, expecting Casey to start. Zero confidence there. Shout out J-Dub. Guarded Wembanyama a bunch in this game. That was pretty cool to see. Still shooting really poorly off the dribble. The passing's been still pretty good. The on-ball roll's been really, really strong. Just hasn't translated with efficiency yet. So yeah, they're good to go. Portland's been playing well. I'll talk about them in a second. But yeah, OKC just hands down the best team in the NBA right now. We'll see if they're like. I think it's. I don't know if you could make your comment. They're closer to Boston than like anyone else is to them. I feel pretty strongly about. Okay, yeah, agreed. That's pretty cool too.
Yeah, I guess. Strongly agreed. Yeah, I mean, if Lou Dort's a 57% shooter from 3, I mean, I don't know how anybody beats this team this year. But yeah, Dort's just flame throwing as well to add insult to injury to anybody playing OKC. It's like, oh, you think you held Shea to 7 for 20 and J Dub to 5 for 13? Here's Lou Dort, 6 for 8 from 3. Like, deal with that. Yeah. All right,
two more notes if I can. The SGA 3-pointers. He's been bombing them. That was from both the team and SGA. Mark Dagnall had a lot of quotes how they want to develop SGA into an even better player, and that comes with increasing his 3-point rate. So shout out to him and shout out to that there. That would be, man, if SGA becomes a good 3-pointer shooter, oh my God. And then the Thunder did it again. Like, they keep getting away with it. AJ Mitchell looks legit. He's been awesome.
Yeah, Sam Presti's the best at drafting in the league by like such a wide margin. It's really ridiculous. All right, Portland side of things: Shaedon Sharpe, Matisse Thybulle, and Robert Williams III all listed out here. What are your notes on the Trailblazers?
Yeah, I mean, another nice win. Really nice win against on the road. The poor Clippers. They got this nice new arena. They can't win any games there. Yeah, but yeah, Tumani Kamara, he's not my official guy, but I've been a big Tumani Kamara guy. He's been very good. Talked about the Zion defense, guarded Harden pretty well. He's been really, really good. Jeremy Grant leading the NBA in catch and shoot attempts, kind of a random stat. Then Anthony Simons, he's going to be in hell. He's a heavy pick and roll handler guy. I think he's 10th or so in volume. So good luck scoring on OKC, but. Yeah, should be a lot of the other guys. And then Aiton's been playing great. Minutes have been really strong. But, yeah, I feel pretty good about this rotation. And another random stat, total drives leader in the NBA, Scoot Henderson, just driving a ton right now. He's playing pretty well.
He looks a lot – I guess the best way I'd put it is he looks like he's playing like he knows where he wants to go this year compared to last year where it looked like he was just kind of playing. This year, it looks like there's some intention to what he's trying to get himself to. There's still occasionally some like pull-up jumpers that are just completely unnecessary. But his whole thing is like he can break people down off the dribble and get in the paint kind of relentlessly. And if he does that, he's opening up and creating threes for other teammates. And that's a positive plus player. We know it takes guards time to adjust. The interesting thing for me is like we're seeing this team very condensed right now in terms of rotation, high-end minute ceilings for all these guys. All I can think of is like in 2 or 3 months, are they still going to be doing this? Are they still going to be kind of leaning in? The West is just so tough this year. So I would, if you're a season-long player out there and you've got opportunities to sell high on some of these guys, Jeremy Grant, Anthony Simons, I would look into it because it doesn't. What we've seen from Portland the last few years doesn't suggest that they're going to be going full bow. 2 months. 3 months from now.
Yeah. One other note too, they did play small here, which is why I didn't like Klingon at all. They snuck in Ryan Repair. You see 7 points. They were all in the fourth. He had a really key impact. Talk about this a lot. Early in the year last year, he couldn't speak enough English to communicate what to run. I think Repair's got some talent, but I love seeing stories like that where like language barriers coming down and getting more minutes. It's pretty cool. Pretty unique story.
Yep. All right, that'll do it for this edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. As always, if you're interested in checking out our premium content, you can go to establishedrun.com/subscribe-NBA for more details on our premium product offerings. On the props package, please read the FAQ if you're interested in understanding more about that package. On the DFS side of things, Mike Gallagher's matchups column 3 times a week, live shows 5 times a week with myself and Mike Gallagher, other strategy content such as DFS office hours that I'm doing every other week, Winky writing strategy articles as well. You also get access to a Discord that is very active and talking through a lot of strategy. A lot of people who are contributing really like fun, cool things to the Discord as well. So it's a great community to be able to join as well. If you are looking for DFS help this season, we've got you covered. If you are only here for the freebies, that's great too. The best way to support us is to subscribe to this channel. You can hit the bell and get notifications whenever we go live or post new content. And you can, of course, smash that like button, which helps feed our families by feeding that algorithm. So smash that like button, feed our families, feed that algorithm. Nom, 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 nom. Have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday.